Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. It is Commander Legends release weekend. We're not going to talk about the card prices from that set today since it just came out, but we will be looking at everything else that is occurring in the secondary market, and obviously a lot of cards are moving because of cards from Commander Legends. Quickly before we get into the details though, just a fast reminder, if you go to FlipsideGaming.com, you can use the Heroes promo code to save 10% on orders over $10. Currently, they do have a lot of stuff in stock, including Commander Legends Draft Booster Boxes. Those go down to $120 when you use the promo code, and that does include shipping in the United States. As always, when you use the code, it does support the channel, which is always appreciated. So thank you, and without any further ado, let's get into it. We're going to begin, as we always do, with Standard and your top 6 Standard legal cards that have lost value this week. Number 6 is Ashaya, Soul of the Wild. It goes down 84 cents to $8.95. This hasn't really seen a whole lot of Standard play, but it is a very popular commander within the Commander environment. It's also in the 99 of some other popular builds like Omnith Locus of Creation, Obun Moldaya Ancestor, and now it is seeing additional play around this new card from Commander Legends. That is Averna the Chaos Bloom. Number 5 is Rankle, Master of Pranks. This goes down 84 cents to $11.28. This card has been hot for a while. It is finally retracting, normalizing a little bit. You will find this in standard builds like Rakdos Midrange, Golgari Adventures, and more. Also, too, it is in Pioneer decks like Mono Black Aggro. Many times you'll find this in the side of Vampires there as well. It does see Commander play in popular decks like Anawan the Rune Thief, Tiny Bones Trinket Thief, and more. Number 4 is Kroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger. This goes down 87 cents to $19, another card that has been popular, retracting a little bit. It does see play in Rakdos Midrange and more in Standard. Pioneer, it's in Rakdos Pyromancer and more there. Modern, it's very popular. Death Shadow builds will run this. It's in Jund, Rakdos Midrange as well. And on top of that, it is a fairly popular commander. It is seeing some additional play in that format too around some of the new cards from Commander Legends as well. Number 3 is Ugin, the Spirit Dragon. The Core Set 2021 copy down 89 cents to $22.40. The Fate Reforged copy, which has been soft since the reprinting, goes down $1.10 this week to $23.95. This sees Standard play in Temur Ramp, Mono Green Food, and more. Pioneer, it's in Lotus Combo and 4-color Omnith. Modern, you'll find this in Tron builds. Also, this does see some Legacy play, but it is a highly played Commander card. You'll find this in Kozilek the Great Distortion, Atraxa Praetor's Voice, and more. And yes, it is seeing some increased play around some new cards from Commander Legends. These cards include Belby Corrupted Observer and Emoti, Celebrant of Bounty. Number 2 is Ancient Green Warden. This goes down $1.19 to $14.93. Another card that hasn't seen a whole lot of Standard play, but it is a very popular card in Commander. It's in lands builds and more there, including things like Omnith Locus of Creation and Obun Moldaya Ancestor. Additionally, like a lot of cards in the video today, it is seeing some more play because of Commander Legends cards, one of which is Averna the Chaos Bloom, which we saw earlier. Another example, though, is this card right here, AC Tyrants of Gyre Strait. This is the commander from the Reap the Tides commander deck. And number 1 is Grim Tutor, the original from Starter 1999. It's going down $12.36 this week to $147.67. Now, this card has been soft ever since the reprinting in Core Set 2021. But it stabilized for a little while around the $170 mark. Recently, though, over the last few weeks, it has started to go down again. It's actually dropping quite a bit this week. So if you are interested in an original copy, you might want to keep an eye on this card. Now, with that being said, it doesn't see a whole lot of Standard play or anything like that. But obviously, it is a tutor. It's going to always see play in different decks in Commander. That brings us to the top 6 Standard legal cards that have gained value this week. Much like last week, you're going to notice that not a lot of cards from Standard or Pioneer are moving up all that much. But remember, pay attention to percentage increases more so than the actual financial increase. They could be indicators of things to come. Number 6 is Drannith Magistrate, up 12 cents to $2.24, and this does continue to see a fair amount of play in Commander and various builds. It also does somewhat protect you from the combo of Marlin of the Morn Song and Opposition Agent. That combo will still mess with your draw step, but the opponent at least can't cast your cards out of exile. Number 5 is Ashiok Nightmare Muse. This goes up 12 cents to $4.49, and this doesn't see much Standard play, but in Pioneer it does see a little play. Many times there's a one of in a Dimir control build. Sometimes Nib to Light sideboards will run this. Even sees a little modern play, sometimes in Grixis Wurza, and it does get a little commander play as well. Number 4 is Ruinous Ultimatum, up 13 cents to 220. This is a big commander card showing up in a lot of different decks right now. Number 3 is Tulane Teller of Tales. This goes up 15 cents to 334. This was reprinted in the list recently. Now, the copy we're talking about today is the non-foil one from Throne of Eldraine Collector Boosters. It is a very popular commander, also found in Omnith Locus of Creation builds and more in that format. Beyond that, it is getting a push from a Commander Legends card as well. This time the card is Amareth the Lustrous. Number 2 is Ox of Agonis. This goes up 17 cents to 298, and this does see a good amount of standard play, sometimes in the side, sometimes in the main, but you will find it in builds like Gruul Adventures, Rakdos Midrange, Temur Ramp, and Mono Red Aggro. Also, this is in Modern and Legacy Dredge, and it does see a little commander play too. Number 1 is Brazen Borrower, but this is the one from the list. It goes up 48 cents to $35.95, still holding on to a pretty big price tag. I would expect this to start going down relatively soon, but this week it is creeping up. You're going to find this in Dimir Rogues and more in Standard. It also sees Pioneer, Modern, and Legacy play. When it comes to Commander, it's a popular card there too, in decks like Anawan the Rune Thief and much more. And yes, yet again, there is a Commander Legends card that is pushing this a little bit currently. That is Nimrus Una's Trickster. And that takes us to the top 6 Pioneer legal cards that have lost value this week. Number 6 is Ramanap Excavator from Hour of Devastation. It goes down $1.35 to $8.88. The reason this card is soft right now is because it was just reprinted in the Commander Legends Commander deck Reap the Tides. That's the one that has AC Tyrant of Gyre Strait in it, which we saw a few moments ago. Now, this is a huge commander card. It's seen increased play recently in Omnith Locus of Creation, Obun Maldaya Ancestor, and more. Outside of Commander, this doesn't see a lot of Pioneer play, but many times you will find this in modern Eladamri's Toolbox decks. Also, it does get a fair amount of Legacy play too. Number 5 is Jace Vryn's Prodigy from Magic Origins. It goes down $1.50 this week to $20.40. This is seeing less play than it was seeing a few months ago, but it is still in the sideboard of Pioneer Sultai Delirium builds. Also, it does see some Commander play. Number 4, Scape Shift. This is the copy from Core Set 2019, down $1.66 to $19.07. You don't see this a whole lot in Pioneer, but in Modern, it is in Scape Shift builds, sometimes in Temur Uro as well in that format. In Commander, it's in Lands builds there and more, and it has seen increased play in new builds like Omnith Locus of Creation, Obun Maldaya Ancestor, Averna the Cast Bloom, AC Tyrant of Gyre Strait, and another card we haven't talked about yet, Arkelos Lagoon Mystic. Number 3 is Temple Garden from Ravnica City of Guilds. These are still trying to find their price point since they rotated out of Standard not too long ago, but this copy goes down this week, $1.67 to $13.41. Now, you will find this in a number of Pioneer builds, including Nib to Light and 4-color Omnith. Beyond that, it is a Shockland, so you know it's going to see Modern and Commander play too. Number 2, Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger. It goes down $1.67 this week to $45.04. This continues to retract after some recent increases. In Pioneer, you'll find this in Mono Green Planeswalkers. Modern, it's in Tron builds. Legacy, Mono Green Cloudpost. In Commander, it's in Kozilek the Great Distortion and more. Also, it is another card getting a push from some of the new Commander Legends cards, things like Belby Corrupted Observer and Emoti Celebrant of Bounty, which we saw earlier. But another one too. This is showing up in some Hans Eriksson builds already. Number 1 is Crucible of Worlds. This is the one from Core Set 2019. It goes down to $11 to $40.33. This is another card that was spiking pretty aggressively, really ever since the Zendikar Rising previews were occurring. But over the last few weeks, it has been normalizing back down again. With that being said, though, Commander Legends still does have a focus on lands within the set. Not to mention the Commander Legends Commander deck Reap the Tides, which we were talking about earlier. Aside from all that, though, this continues to see increased play in Commander and Omnith Locus of Creation and Obun Maldaya Ancestor builds. Outside of Commander, it doesn't see a whole lot of Pioneer play or anything, but it does continue to see some Modern and Vintage play, not as much as it was seeing a number of months ago, but in Modern, it is still kicking around within those Tron builds, and also in Vintage, you'll find this in Golos stacks and more. And that brings us to the top 7 Pioneer legal cards that have gained value this week. Coming in at number 7 is Inventor's Fair. This is the copy from the list. It goes up 33 cents to $9.08. Now, partially, again, when you see these cards from the list, they are trying to find their price point. But this one in particular could be moving because of some things that are going on in the market too. In Modern, you'll find this in Wurza builds. It also does see Legacy and Vintage play. Additionally, this is a huge Commander card in some big builds like Kozilek the Great Distortion, Urza Lord High Artificer, Breya Ethereum Shaper, Akiri Fearless Voyager, and more. Now beyond that, this is also showing up in deck lists based around some new partner commanders from Commander Legends. Those cards are Ardent Intrepid Archaeologist and Rograk, Son of Roga. Number 6 is Watery Grave from Ravnica City of Guilds. It goes up 34 cents to $17.77. You'll find this one in Pioneer builds like Wilderness Reclamation, Niv to Light, and more. Also, it does see Modern and Commander play too. Number 5 is Gisa and Geralf. This goes up 38 cents to $3.99. This is a fairly popular commander, but also found in the 99 of zombie builds like the Scarab God and Verena Lich Queen. This is also getting a push from a Commander Legends card too, and that card is Tormod the Desecrator. This is partnering with some new and old partner commanders to create builds that do include Gisa and Geralf. Number 4 is Doomblade from the list. It goes up 38 cents to $4.46, and it does appear that a lot of creatures die to this. Nowadays, though, it sees play mostly in Commander, but it is in a lot of different builds. Number 3, this card dies to Doomblade. It is Soul of Zendikar, the copy from the list. It goes up 44 cents to $3.29, and this is a good example of a card trying to find its price point. It does see a little Commander play, though. Number 2 is Timestream Navigator. This card's been pretty hot because of Commander Legends previews and now the release because there is a fair amount of support for the pirate tribe there. This card goes up 54 cents this week to $5.53. And a lot of players are picking this up because they want to put it in some new builds based around Admiral Beckett Brass with all the new pirates running around. But other folks are trying to build around some of these new pirates. Here's a few examples of cards that you see people building around right now. Captain Vargas Wrath, Zara Renegade Recruiter, and then when it comes to partners, you have Malcolm Keen-Eyed Navigator, which sometimes does partner with Breach's Brazen Plunderer, or sometimes partners with Dargo the Shipwrecker. Number 1 is Aurelia the War Leader. This is the copy from the Guilds of Ravnica Boros Guild Kit. It only comes in foil, a little bit harder to find. It goes up 78 cents to $16.14. Now, this is a fairly popular commander, but many times you'll find it in the wildly popular Colleague of the Vast builds in that format. Also, too, it has seen some increased play recently around Akiri, Fearless Voyager. Beyond that, though, there are some Commander Legends cards pushing this as well. You have Wyless Soul of Steel, which of course is the commander from Armed for Battle. You have Jared Carthalion, True Heir. Or you could look at some partner commanders like what we saw just a few moments ago. Rograk, Son of Roga, partnered with Ardent Intrepid Archaeologist. Or instead, you could partner Rograk with this card here, a Chroma Vision of Ixidor. All these commanders and partner combinations are running Aurelia the War Leader, so it is a card to keep an eye on. It also did get a Command Zone mention this week as well. And that brings us to the top 5 modern legal cards that have lost value this week. Coming in at number 5 is Auriok Champion. This is the one from 5th Dawn. It goes down $2.77 to $20.25. This card has seen some really big increases recently, so it's not too surprising to see it retracting now. In Modern, you'll find this in Heliod Company, Humans, and more. It has seen some increased play in Commander and Aura Skyclave Hierophant builds. It is a Cleric notice. Also, some players have been interested in building around Rick Steadfast Leader from The Walking Dead Secret Lair. This being a mono-white human with a unique ability is a good option for some of those builds. And yes, this card was also recently pushed by some of the Commander Legends previews. Those include Lathiel the Bounteous Dawn and Lisa Shroud of Dusk. Number 4, Sword of Fire and Ice. This is the original from Darksteel, recently reprinted in Double Masters. This card has been soft since. It goes down $2.90 this week to $57. This does see modern play in various builds with Stoneforge Mystic. In Legacy, you'll find this in Death and Taxes and more. It's also a popular commander card in builds like Akiri Fearless Voyager or Cirquin Hero of Ashvale. And yes, this card was also recently pushed by some of the Commander Legends previews. Wyless Soul of Steel, Ardent Intrepid Archaeologist with some various partner commanders, and more. Number 3 is another example of a card that has been spiking pretty aggressively recently, starting to normalize a little bit. This is Flagstones of Trocaire, the one from Time Spiral, going down $3.44 this week to $18.49. Now, this has seen some more modern play recently in Eladamri's Toolbox builds, and it shows up in other places in the format too. It also gets a little Legacy and Vintage play. In Vintage, you'll find this in mono white humans, and many of those decks now are running Rick Steadfast Leader from The Walking Dead Secret Lair, which we mentioned a moment ago. Also, this is in a number of commander builds. Number 2 is Marlin of the Morn Song, another example of a card normalizing after a pretty big spike. This one goes down $3.50 this week to $24.21, and this began to move when Opposition Agent was previewed not too long ago now. Currently, this is seeing some increased commander play as a commander with Opposition Agent in the deck, or in some cases, those two cards are just part of the 99 of some other new builds. Number 1 is another card from the list trying to find its price point. This is a Chroma's Memorial. It goes down $4.49 this week to $29.89. Very good commander card, found many times in Kozilek the Great Distortion builds. Also, it has seen some increased play in a Chroma Vision of Ixidor decks with various partner commanders. That takes us to the top 7 modern legal cards that have gained value this week. Number 7 is Grand Abolisher. This is the one from Magic 2012. It goes up $1.21 to $20.47 this week. Now, this does see some modern main deck and sideboard play. Also, this is seeing more commander play since it is another card that takes some options away from the Marlin of the Mornsong Opposition Agent combo. Beyond that, though, it's also good with some new cards in Commander. Here's one example. Quain Itinerant Meddler. Number 6 is Mycosynth Golem, but this is the copy from the list. It goes up $1.25 this week to $18.90. And this has been a very solid card in Commander Artifact builds. Now, however, it is going to see more play going forward because of cards from Commander Legends. Here's a few examples. Rebek, Architect of Ascension, Armix Filigree Thrasher, and Tekik Salvage Splicer. Number 5 is Goblin Chieftain. It is another card from the list. It goes up $1.28 to $4. And this does see modern and legacy play in Goblins builds. Also in Commander, you'll find this in Goblin decks there, like Krenko Mob Boss, Muxus Goblin Grandy, and more. Number 4, Grand Arbiter Augustin IV. This is the copy from Dissension. It goes up $1.80 to $23. Very popular commander, which also sees play in the 99 of many builds, including some based around Commander Legends cards that share these colors. Number 3 is Mindbreak Trap. This card continues to stay hot. It goes up $2.42 to $12.49 this week. Very popular legacy and vintage card that's good against Storm strategies. Number 2, this card can't make up its mind. It goes up one week, down another week. This is Blood Moon from the Dark, the original, this week going up $3.70 to $54.83. And it was reprinted in Double Masters, but this original copy just doesn't care. In Modern, you'll find this in Blitz, Gruul Midrange, Mono Red Aggro, and more. Also sees legacy play as well. Commander, you're going to find this in Krenko Mob Boss and more there. And already we are starting to see this show up in some builds around Commander Legends cards, which include Yurlok of Scorched Thrash, which we're going to be talking more about that card as the video goes on, Gen Arcanum Weaver, and Jessica Thrice Reborn. And number 1 is Birds of Paradise. The 7th edition copy goes up $1.14 to $15.86. The unlimited copy goes up $77.11 to $3.45. Normally, I would put the unlimited copy in the vintage section, but since the 7th edition copy was going up somewhat significantly as well, I figured we'd just combine them in this section. In Modern, you'll find this in Devoted Devastation, Bant Snowblade, and more. Also sees legacy play, and it is a huge commander card in many builds. That brings us to the Vintage Spotlight. This is where we talk about cards that see play in Vintage, Legacy, 93, 94, or cards that are just popular among collectors. Vampiric Tutor from 6th edition. This goes up $4.49 to $93.73. Okay, so this was reprinted in Commander Legends. All the copies of this card have been losing value pretty aggressively. This week, though, this 6th edition copy does rebound a little bit. This might be temporary as it tries to find its price point, but it's something to pay attention to going forward. This is a great vintage and commander card. Gaia's Cradle, the one from Urza Saga. Now, this is on the reserve list, but they did make a judge promo of this before they closed that loophole. This Urza Saga copy, though, goes up $4.65 this week to $704.37. Ultimately, this card has been remaining pretty steady around that $700 mark. That's the most important thing you can take away from the slide, I think. Beyond that, though, of course, this does see play in Legacy Elves and more. Also, it does show up in Vintage and Commander decks, too. Tundra from Revised on the reserve list. It goes up $4.68 this week to $408.11. Mana Crypt, this is the original book giveaway copy. It goes up $6.60 this week to $317.99. Now, this lost a lot of value when it was reprinted in Mystery Boosters as well as Double Masters not too long ago. But as you can see, this original copy is starting to rebound again. Great vintage and great commander card. Island Fish Jaconius from Arabian Nights. This goes up $10.35 to $36.74 this week. I mentioned this the last few weeks, but for a lot of collectors, when it comes to these older sets, it's not just about buying reserve list cards. It can be about buying high-grade cards, even if the card has been reprinted a number of times and you can find cheaper copies out there. Those original copies in good condition can be highly sought after regardless. Ramses Overdark, this is on the reserve list. It goes up $11.91 to $99.95. Howling Mine from Unlimited. We have seen a lot of Unlimited cards get hot recently too. This one goes up $14.21 to $157.49. Royal Assassin from Unlimited up $21.85 this week to $60.99. Old Man of the Sea, this one's on the reserve list. It goes up $23.95 to $174.99. Tawnos' Coffin, also on the reserve list. It goes up $36.24 to $149.49. Sorceress Queen, the one from Arabian Nights, goes up $36.84 to $95. Another Arabian Nights card here with Guardian Beast, but this one is on the reserve list. It goes up $65.05 to $515. Nether Void, this is on the reserve list. It goes up $69.40 to $730.59. Drop of Honey, also on the reserve list, up $95.47 to $789.95. Chains of Mephistopheles, you guessed it, it's on the reserve list, and it goes up $101.60 to $999. Dakin Blackblade, the copy from Legends, it goes up $109.80 this week to $149.99. I did check this against some recently sold listings to find out if that was accurate, and I did see a high-grade copy sell for about $135 this week, so it's at least pretty close. For the most part, when it comes to the bigger movers in this section this week, really the movement is due to the fact that there are higher-grade copies either for sale or did sell this week, and that's why you're seeing the big variances. Here's Moat on the reserve list. It went up $180 this week to $1,100. Although this one does feel like it is starting to even out. I kind of think if I pulled it around the same time as last week, it probably would have fallen off. I don't remember 100%, but it has been pretty stable for a number of days. And lastly, for this section, Bazaar of Baghdad, also on the reserve list, it goes up $186.10 to $1,922.16. And as if the whole video isn't a Commander Spotlight, it is time for the official Commander Spotlight. And our first card is Platinum Angel from Magic 2011. It goes up $1 to $9.97. This is a very popular Commander card in builds like Kozilek the Great Distortion, Kali of the Vast, and more. Now it's seeing additional play in Obeka Brute Chronologist builds too. This might be the most popular card out of Commander Legends when it comes to players trying to build new decks around it. Here's another card that has been showing up in those Obeka Brute Chronologist builds. This is Cedrus the Traitor King. It goes up $1.03 to $5.04. Well of Knowledge. This is on the reserve list. Sometimes you will find this in Commander Group Hug builds, but the trend seems to be continuing that a lot of these cheaper reserve list cards that see at least a little play somewhere have been getting purchased at a higher rate. And I do think there are players out there that are worried that there's going to be more buyouts and more spikes, so they're trying to prioritize these type of cards. This one goes up $1.04 this week to $8.99. Here's another example of that. Krovax the Cursed, also on the reserve list, sees a little bit of Commander play, but not all that much. It goes up $1.07 this week to $10.43. Null Rod, this one is on the reserve list too, but this one sees more play. It goes up $1.07 to $65.34. And yes, this does see some Commander play, but it also does show up in Legacy and Vintage as well. Season of the Witch, another card on the reserve list, creeping up a little bit, up $1.09 to $33.16. Jester's Cap. Now this sees a little Commander play, but here's an example of the original copy drying up a little bit online this week. It goes up $1.10 to $5.40. Enlightened Tutor, recently reprinted in the list. Ever since that reprint occurred, this card, as well as some of the other versions of it, have been pretty soft. But this week, the 6th edition one does creep up a little bit, $1.11 to $40.39. This is a highly played Commander card, though. And yes, this is getting a push from Commander Legends cards too. A couple examples of cards we saw earlier in the video include Gen Arcanum Weaver and Arden Intrepid Archaeologist. Unholy Grotto, up $1.16 to $16.21, currently sees some Commander play in zombie builds. Also, this has been in some early Michonne Ruthless Survivor Commander deck lists as well. That is another card from the Walking Dead Secret Lair. And on top of that, it is getting a push from Commander Legends as well. One card in particular that comes to mind is this one here. Nevinyrral Urborg Tyrant. Kali of the Vast. This is the original copy from Commander. It has been losing value since the reprinting in Double Masters, but finally this does rebound a little bit, going up $1.20 to $27.52. This is a highly played, very popular Commander in the format, and it did get a push from some new Commander Legends cards, but honestly, I don't think it needed the help. Rhystic Study. This is the copy from Jumpstart. It goes up $1.36 to $28.05. This is a highly played Commander card in multiple builds. Illusions of Grandeur. This one is on the reserve list. It goes up $1.38 to $12.08. And this is good in Zedruu the Great-Hearted builds, and that did just get reprinted as an etch foil Commander in Commander Legends. Winds of Change. The Portal copy drying up a little bit online this week as it goes up $1.64 to $41.70. This is in a number of different Commander builds, including Nekusar the Mindrazor and the Locust God. Tidal Control is next. This is on the reserve list. It goes up $1.67 to $4.68 this week. And this has been seeing a little Commander play for a while now. But part of the reason it could be going up more now is because of all those land-centric decks that are popular. Omnith Locus of Creation, Obun Moldaya Ancestor, for example. Two of the key colors in a lot of these lands builds happen to be green and red. Emil the Blessed. This goes up $1.80 to $44.97. This is a very popular commander and has seen some increased play recently, many times in the Omnith Locus of Creation builds. Also, it has been seeing more play with some cards from Commander Legends, including this one here, Hamza, Guardian of Arashin. Next, we have Last Chance from Starter 1999. The Portal copy did start to retract quite a bit this week. This one is still creeping up a little bit. It goes up $1.97 to $75.49. Now, this has seen a little commander play in Godo Bandit Warlord, for example, but this is a card that's moving now because of Obeka Brew Chronologist. Primal Vigor. This is the copy from the list. It goes up $2.10 to $31.85. And this is a popular commander card, seeing more play now with a new card from Commander Legends. That is Gore Muldrak, Amphinologist. Next is Mana Flare. This is the copy from 5th edition, continues to stay hot. The revised and 4th edition copies haven't been moving too much, which surprises me a little bit. But this one goes up $2.21 to $11.32. Solid commander card, but now seeing more play in those Yearlock of Scorched Thrash builds. Mana Vortex, another card from the Dark that is on the reserve list, moving up a little bit this week. This does see some commander play, not all that much, but it goes up $2.55 this week to $35.23. Wheel of Fortune from Revised, that is on the reserve list, but it did get one more copy printed as a Judge promo before they closed the loophole. The revised copy goes up $2.71 this week to $227.71. And this is a great commander card in many different builds. It also showed up on game nights this week, which could have brought a little more attention to it. Radiant Archangel on the reserve list. It goes up $3.10 this week to $24.49. Now, this card spiked not too long ago. Then the value came back down as it began to normalize. Now that it is hitting a lower price point, you might see more players jumping on it because they are concerned that it could spike again in the future. It does see some commander play in different angel builds typically. And now there could be a little more interest on it as well because of this new card here, Radiant Serra Archangel. This could remind people of the older card or in some cases introduce it to them for the first time. Elid Omri's Vineyard. This card's been pretty hot. It goes up $3.20 this week to $7.33, and this has been a solid group hug commander card for a while now. But again, you have an example of a card that is getting a push from some of those new Commander Legends cards. For example, this is in a lot of those Yearlock of Scorched Thrash builds, and maybe to a lesser degree, it's also showing up in Belby Corrupted Observer decks too. City of Shadows, another card from the Dark on the reserve list. This goes up $3.92 this week to $54.99. Similar story here as Radiant Archangel. This was bought out not too long ago. We saw this spike pretty aggressively. Since then, it has been coming down. Some players may have decided the $50 price point was the time to pull the trigger. When it comes to gameplay, this does see some commander play in various builds, including the popular Traxa Praetor's voice decks. Overabundance, another card that got really hot because of Yearlock of Scorched Thrash. This goes up $4.36 this week to $10. Temporal Manipulation, the one from Portal 2nd Age, the original is drying up a little bit online right now. It goes up $5.21 this week to $44.49. Remember, this was just reprinted as part of the list, but it also does see a fair amount of commander play. Cleansing from the Dark, you guessed it, it is on the reserve list. It goes up $5.88 this week to $17.09. And sure, it does see a little commander play, but again, you have a situation where this is just drying up in the marketplace. Maybe it is drying up somewhat naturally as players are trying to pick up these reserve list cards before they go up in value, or maybe this is the beginning of a buyout. Alright, that's going to do it for this market watch, and unfortunately, I don't have a premium spotlight for you for the second week in a row. I almost had one. I was watching a couple cards, and then they kind of stabilized at the last minute, so I couldn't really find anything that felt like it was moving naturally, not being manipulated. I'm sure by next week there'll be something happening which we'll be able to talk about, but for right now, there's just not a lot going on when it comes to some of these foils and promo cards. With that being said, though, until next time, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day! Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.